we are doing Christian apologetics, continuing in that, and that the Bible is the Word of God. And today we start off with this, Deuteronomy 32 and verse 8. This is Moses, things that Moses is saying when the Most High divided their inheritance to the nations. It's actually the Song of Moses, is what it's referred to, not in the text itself. But it divided their inheritance to the nations. When he separated the sons of Adam, he set the boundaries of the peoples according to the number of the children of Israel. He is talking about that of all the nations being scattered out, God had given these boundaries and the pre-appointed times for the nations. Now, we're going to talk about Babel. Babel is found in Genesis 11, 1 through 9. That's not very many verses. But that is, from this we understand where all the languages came from, and we understand what humanity was doing just a short period of time after the flood. I think we can look at it around 102 years after the end of the flood. We have the events of Babel. And we have this. This is Genesis 9, verse 7. And after he speaks about the punishment for murder, which has already been murder prior to the flood, starting with Cain, but from all the bloodshed going on prior to the flood, there would have been a lot of murder going on. After giving a command concerning murder and capital punishment, we have this. And as for you, be fruitful and multiply. Bring forth abundantly in the earth and multiply in it. Now, as far as we know, Noah and his wife never had any more children. But Shem, Ham, and Japheth, they're going to begin having children. And they will be fruitful and they will be multiplying. But the idea actually is in the earth, multiply across the earth. While this doesn't say across the earth, I think it is implied. And the idea was that they would just fan out. Go to, just find your place. The world truly is your oyster. At this point, the world, just find your place. Find your spot. And if you don't like this one, go to the next one. Find the place where you want to be. Choose the lake, choose the river, choose the stream, choose the mountain, choose the whatever you're going to do. Okay, now we come to Genesis chapter 11. And beginning in verse 1, this concerns Babel. Now the whole earth had one language and one speech. This would have been the language, presumably, and I think that we can assume this, that Adam and Eve spoke. Adam and Eve did not develop a language. Language was already there. Adam is already speaking to God. Adam and Eve are speaking to each other. The serpent can communicate to Eve that there is a language that is there. What is that, or what was that language? I don't know. I don't know what that is. But some would say that it was Hebrew, but I can firmly say it was not. Hebrew sprang up out of Babel, actually not immediately out of Babel. It kind of developed in a family of languages, and that slowly developed over time. That Hebrew is not that original language at all. And there are some who want to bring up, you may have heard it, you may not have heard it, it is a book that some would say belong into the Bible. It's not part of the Apocrypha. There's a lot of different books that claim to be from God, claim to be from somebody, and somebody wants to throw it in. And it is the book of Enoch. Matter of fact, it wasn't too long ago that we had a discussion with, just brethren talking about it, and that Jude quotes the book of Enoch. No, it doesn't. The book of Jude does not quote from the book of Enoch. The book of Jude does mention Enoch and does mention what Enoch said that Genesis doesn't tell us about, but that's not to say that it's from the book of Enoch. Now, here's one of the things about the book of Enoch. That book would have to be pre-Diluvian. It would have to be from that first language. I'd like to see that book in its original form. I'd like to see that. What was that original language and who can translate it? Because we don't know what that language was. Now, after the flood, they're still speaking that language. Let me just ask you this. The likelihood is you speak the same language as your grandparents and your great-grandparents. Likelihood is. I mean, it could be that you don't. It could be that they were from a different country and spoke a completely different language. But that is the likelihood. Well, that's what's going on here. It would be what they heard from Shem, Ham, and Japheth and the moms. This is what they would have heard from everyone around them. It was this one speech, this one language. And it came to pass as they journeyed from the east that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. Let's look at our map here. The red here are the mountains of Ararat. We don't know where the ark landed. It did not land on Mount Ararat. The text does not say that. It says the mountains of Ararat, which makes it, you just have a general area, a general idea of where it could have landed. But if they're coming from the east, here is the plain of Shinar. If they're coming from the east, well, the mountains of Ararat are not from the east. They're really north, kind of west. And so with Noah leaving the ark, we know that Noah left the ark. We know that in Genesis chapter 9, they are all together. It is Noah and his wife, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and their families. We have grandkids now. Noah has grandkids there, and they would have been somewhere, they had to have been somewhere to the east of the plain of Shinar. I don't know where that was. But no doubt being in the mountains of Ararat was not the most ideal place to have a home. Matter of fact, I'm not sure too many people live there now in a modern era, but looking at having different types of crops, it's kind of chilly up there. And mountains usually are not a good place to have large crops of things that you have, of staples you have to have. So they had to have moved, and they had to have moved toward the east out of there, because it says that they're moving from the east to the plain of Shinar. Now this is about 100 years after the flood is when this is happening. And what's the population? Well, we don't know. We do know that they were having kids, and the kids are having kids, and then they are having kids. We do know that is happening, but it had to have been large enough to desire a better settlement than what was here with Noah, wherever that happened to be. They wanted a better settlement than that. Otherwise, I guess they wouldn't have moved. And in this discussion, and it came to pass as they journeyed from the east, we have to ask the question, who is they? Was Noah and his family coming with them? Shem, Ham, and Japheth, did they all travel with them? The text isn't saying it. The text doesn't say that at all. It could be that Noah's well settled. If all you kids want to go somewhere else, go somewhere else. But it could be that Noah is well settled. Noah lives way past Babel. His lifespan is way beyond Babel. And we do have in old epic poems, such as the Epic of Gilgamesh, speaking of Noah, not by that name, because that's a Hebrew name that means peace. It's depending on which language the Epic of Gilgamesh is coming from, because it was through time translated into different things. But in that story, Gilgamesh, who is the main character, goes looking for Noah. Now we know it's Noah, but that's not the name given in the book. But it is a man who survived a worldwide flood because God, in his wrath, destroyed man, but also God saved this particular man and his family, and everybody is from them. I mean, that is what everyone knew. That is in the Epic of Gilgamesh. And he goes searching for Noah, and that he's somewhere in the mountains. And we're looking at a true event that is being altered by men. And because Gilgamesh is not just heroic, Gilgamesh is like a demigod. He's a superhuman. All right, now we come to this. All right, so last week we calculated from the biblical text, from Genesis chapter 5, that the flood came at 1,656 years after creation, after the first day. This is how many years it occurred. Now, I think we can safely assume that Peleg was born when Babel occurred. That's 102 years from the flood. 102 years, and you have Babel. And yeah, that's probably accurate, because Nimrod is a great grandson of Noah. Noah is 10th from Adam, 10th generation from Adam. Ham is 11. Cush is 12, and then Nimrod is 13. And the great-grandson of Noah is the one that started Babel. He is the one because the text tells us that. And last Wednesday night, we read that from Genesis chapter 10. So we're looking at 102 years. So continuing on. Then they said to one another, "Come, let us make bricks and bake them thoroughly." They had brick for stone and they had asphalt for mortar. So this is, they're not dumb people. They're pretty smart. They could definitely have gotten this technology, the understanding of this, from Shem, Ham, Japheth and their wives, Noah and his wife. And that this could have been very much a common thing. Since they're going to be making a city and they're going to be making a tower. All right? And so you can't really do that without something very, very strong to do it. We don't make too many towers out of wood or plaster or something like that. It's got to be something that can bear the weight. And so they're going to be making bricks, and they know that the bricks have to have something in between. There has to be mortar in between, and they know what that's going to be. They know what they're going to do. And they said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city." So there's enough population for a city. "Let's build ourselves a city and a tower whose top is in the heavens." Now I want you to notice, we're going to look at it a little bit more, but what is said next. "Let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be scattered abroad over the face of the whole earth." Now I want us to look at this for a second, because this is what they say. All right? They're going to build a city and a tower. All right? Whose height reaches up to heaven. All right? Their goal was not, because we can see what their goal was. Their goal was not to reach heaven. all right, where someone might say that, someone might think that. Their goal was not to reach heaven. How are you going to do that? All right, that's an impossibility. If that was their goal, God wouldn't have to stop them from anything. You can't do that. Okay, you can't build this tower that's gonna where you can just step right off in at the throne of God. That's an impossibility. That's not what they're out to do. They say what they're out to do. Building a tower, and with this city, building the city is actually the emphasis. The tower is to impress. This is what it's about. They have with the tower, there is a symbol of achievement and a symbol of accomplishment. That we have the power to do this. This is the place where you want to live. This is a place of stability. This is a place of economics. We can do wonders here. We just all join together and we can do wonders in this. And even God says in verse 11, we haven't gotten there yet, nothing they propose to do will be withheld from them because they're united in this. That's the idea, is that they are united. And this first one is, in fact, to impress. They want a city. Now, the next step is to attract those living outside Babel. Let us make a name for ourselves. Well, if there was only one place where everyone was living, they don't have to make a name for themselves. Everybody's there. There has to be other settlements, not Babel. And here is what it is about. It is to attract all those. Here is this means to bring in others that are not in that settlement. That there are others living somewhere else and they want to lure them in. This is the plan. This is why they are doing it, is to attract anybody living outside of Babel. All right, and here we have the final objective. Here's the objective. It's not to reach heaven. It is, lest we be scattered abroad over the face of the whole earth. That's the motive. That is the absolute purpose in all of this. It's not that we're going to build a city and those that want to live here, but it is to impress everybody, to get all of humanity under one roof, if you will, in one city, under one king, and that is Nimrod. That's what was happening. That is because this is precisely what they say. They're telling us why they're doing this. Okay, so we go back now and we see this. Verse 5. But the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the sons of men had built. Now this could mean, now a city is never entirely built. If a city is ever entirely built, it's a dying city. City is always being built. It's always being built. A tower, that's a different matter. You can have an endpoint for any building and say, okay, that's as far as we were ever going to do with it. It could be the tower's already built, or it could be that they're still working on it. This is, he came to see the city and the tower which they were building. They were in all of this. All right? And, you know, we are talking about people that have been living rather rustic lives. We can just say that since coming out of the ark. And it would have been a very, very unique time. Very unique time of that everybody you know, you can trace just a few generations to Shem, Ham, or Japheth. All right, just a few generations. And everybody you know speaks the same language. And everybody you know is right here. And how many have seen the Pacific Ocean? Probably nobody. How many have seen the Atlantic? Probably nobody. They probably haven't. I mean, it's possible somebody did some traveling, but there's nobody that no place where you're going to be able to get food. You're going to have to take everything you need, and or forage as you go. But here God comes down to take a look at what they are doing. And the Lord said, "Indeed, the people are one, and they all have one language," and this is what they begin to do. Now nothing that they propose to do will be withheld from them. They're all united in this. Now, what would be the danger? Why does God not want this occurring? They're building a city. I mean, they're advancing. What would be the problem here? Why would God not want them doing this? Clearly He doesn't, because He's going to introduce something that's going to have everybody scattered. He's not going to pick them up and place them in other parts of the world. He's not doing that. They're going to go on their own because they have to. Why would He stop it? Okay, yes, all right? There is a matter of humanism, there's a matter of pride, that we look at the things that we can do. There's another thing that is there. All right, what would it mean if all of humanity were under one king? What would that mean? If he turns bad, you have all of humanity under him. All right, that could go very wrong quick. And if he's not bad, somebody's going to want the power, kill him and take the power, and they're bad. All right, God doesn't want this. He wants them spreading out. He created a big world for a reason. He didn't create this huge world so that we could all be in one city in Babel. He didn't do that. Spread out. There are continents out there. There are islands out there. There's beauty all over the place that will support nations for the rest of time till the earth comes to an end. These nations can support, these areas can support you, and he does not want them staying here doing this. What else will they be doing? There's no telling. It's going to turn bad fast, especially if you have pride involved in this, especially if they have this thing of look what we can do. It's the power of humanity. And do we need God? Well, they're going to turn away from God pretty quick. Matter of fact, it could very well be argued from archaeology that they already had turned from God. That while Noah and his children and his wife and daughters-in-law, they would have very well known concerning Jehovah that when we get to this generation, it can be very well argued, like I said, from archaeology, that they already had turned to something else. They had already done it. Now, here is what God says. This is another us statement from God. As we saw, let us make man in our image. Here we have, let us go down and there confuse their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. That's all it's going to take. And it is a miraculous thing. And when God confused the languages, He did an excellent job. It's going to be more than just different words now. There is that. Try to figure out what your neighbor's saying now. But it's also syntax. It's also, believe it or not, rhythm. There's numerous things that are different in the languages. And it's not just the writing either, but that's part of it. Some writing which will eventually write left to right, others right to left. You have the Egyptians and the hieroglyphics. You have the Chinese and their characters. There's all these things, and the Sumerians and others around them with the cuneiform. Okay? He is going to destroy their unity. He's not going to destroy them. He's going to in essence, Babel can't be occupied anymore, or it's not going to be occupied. It could be. Someone could just stay there. But there's something very, very strange happened there, and they're not going to want to stay. So the Lord scattered them abroad from there over the face of all the earth, and they ceased building the city. It mentions nothing about the tower. It could be that the tower was finished, but the emphasis here is not on the tower. The tower wasn't the problem. It was everybody being in this city was the problem. God is not against building towers or even building big cities. Just don't have everybody together. That's a bad idea. And I'll just bring this out. Anybody thinking they're going to have a one world government, it will fail. It'll fail. God didn't want it here when there was a whole lot less people. He's not going to want it today either for the same reasons. You can do whatever you think you need to do, but you're going to fail in the process. You can't do it. Therefore, its name is called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of all the earth, and from there the Lord scattered them abroad over the face of all the earth. So this is the name. The name given to it is confusion. Nimrod is not going to name his city Confusion. He's proud of his city. Come to Confusion. We've got everything you need. Come to Confusion. That's not a good name. All right. This is what it became known as, and he scatters them abroad over the face of the earth. They're going to leave out of there. And it is going to be so shocking and so supernatural, of which it is, that now the biblical text doesn't say this, but archaeology does say this, that Babel was not occupied for a couple of hundred years, that there was this enormous civilization, very productive civilization that was there for a period of time, and then nothing for like 200 years, nothing. And it probably was that this is a cursed place. This is too weird. We're gone. We're out of here. I'll go wherever else, just not here anymore. And one can ask, well, where is that city? It does occupy space. Archaeologists do know where it is. Where is that tower? Well, it is very well thought or believed that that tower was disassembled and those bricks used for other things through the centuries. That it was disused, it would be in ruins, and what you could take, you just take. And you can build your home, or whatever you're going to build. All right, so he scatters them abroad over the face of the earth. So here is Babel. It would be toward the southern Iraq is where it is. And as a matter of fact, is not that far away from Babel. So some who left, they didn't go very far. Now, as we were looking with the table of nations last Wednesday from Genesis chapter 10, some of them did go far. Some of them went across North Africa. Some headed south, sub-Sahara Africa. Some went north up into the Caucasus Mountains. Some went west here, such as with the Canaanites. Some went further out into the islands and the coastlands over here. But is not far away at all. You could walk from Babel to in a couple of hours or so. Maybe a little longer than that, but it's not very far at all. Now, we've already looked at their intent and their purpose and the objectives in all of this, the objectives is that they didn't want to be scattered all over the world, which means that that was beginning to happen. That was beginning to happen. Okay, what happened when you have Abraham and Lot's men arguing with each other? What happened there? They know they've got to separate. They've got to. All right? And the same thing no doubt was happening in that day of where there are disagreements or there's arguments over who has what and where it is. We can't all stay here. We've got to separate. And they were beginning to do that. This was an effort to stop that. It was an effort to stop that. Now, this is concerning God. Verse 5, He goes and examines and judges what they do to see the city and the tower. All right? Now, He doesn't assign any kind of wickedness involved in this, but it's headed there quick. And there probably was idolatry, but it's not mentioned here. He wants them scattering. That's what He wants them to do. In verse 8, He changes one detail, and humanity cannot stay together. Humanity cannot be united. It's impossible. You think you can work here and live here when only a small group of you now speak the same language? That would be quite the divided place. And aside from the fact that everybody wants to leave. Everybody's going to leave. And they cease building the city. They stop it. That's precisely what He wanted them to do. And then here is the absolute objective, and that is humanity separates into the boundaries of their dwellings, exactly as Acts 17:26 said God did. That's Paul, of course, many centuries later, Paul telling the Athenians that this is what God did. The Lord scattered them abroad over the face of all the earth. Go wherever you want, build cities there, build towers there. Do it to your heart's content. It's okay. Just don't stay here in one spot. Go wherever you want. And here is one of those things about it. They were building a tower in Babel, and it could very well have been a ziggurat. If you don't know what a ziggurat is, you've seen plenty of them. It is not a pyramid, but it's like a stepped pyramid. Okay, that's a ziggurat. How many places on the earth have pyramids and or ziggurats? And don't think that Egypt's the only place. Egypt has the most impressive pyramids, period. But there are many, many places. If you want to head toward Asia, if you want to head toward here in the Americas, you see where that was done. It is done. God doesn't stop those. To your heart's content. We have cities that have skyscrapers. God's not against skyscrapers. He's not against that. Build the cities as big as you want. Build mega cities. Hope that you do. But it's not going to have everybody living there under one authority. And just spread out and multiply exactly as He wanted. Now, we ask the question, was Babel real? Let's look at languages first. And it is well known that there is no one mother tongue of which everything else sprang off of, which is a bit of a mystery, unless you know Genesis. It's a bit of a mystery. What was that first mother tongue, and how did everything spring off from it? Well, it's not there. There is no one mother tongue. It is, in fact, linguists have noted at least 14 different language families 14 different, of which they're not related to each other. Not by syntax, not by words, not by anything. They don't go together in any way. And from these families, other languages developed. Through time, languages, English is not a language that came out of Babel. English came many millennia later, and then slowly developed through time to where we have what we call English today. But there are some languages in the world that do not fit, and they're called linguistic isolates or language isolates. And Basque is one of them. Basque they're in northern Spain, and what the Basques speak is not Spanish, nor is it Portuguese, nor is it related to them. There's also the Ainu. The Ainu are very, very ancient people, still around today, that live in the Japanese islands. They lived on the Japanese islands before the Japanese got there. And they have a different language than the Japanese. The Ainu does not fit anywhere in the family that the Japanese came from, that language, or any other language. It seems to be independent. And now, could it be? You have about 14 different, and that's the best sort of thing. If we look just at the grandsons of Noah, we'll see that he had 16, I'm sorry, not 6. He had 16, going from the children of Japheth, the children of Ham, the children of Shem. These are the sons. They all had daughters as well. But these are the sons. Could it be that the grandsons represent the language families that spread across the earth? I'm not sure that it did. Simply because I'm just going to take a couple of verses to show that these are the sons of Gomer. Gomer is a son of Japheth. We have Ashkenaz. Ashkenaz, those are Scythians. They went north and settled in the Ukraine area. We have Riphath. They went over toward the Black Sea around Turkey. Togarmah, Phrygians, that's central west Turkey. We have Elisha, that's Cyprus. Tarshish is Spain, more of southern Spain. Kittim is Cyprus again. Dodanim is Rhodes. These are very, very different languages. All right, especially when you're talking about like Scythian to Spanish. Very, very different. Different languages altogether. All right, and so we just come over to, these are Shem. Shem's sons. The son of Aram were Uz. That's where Job's home was. Job was in the land of Uz. Hul is Armenia. Gether would be eastern Iran. Mash is Syria. Arphaxad of the Chaldeans. And Eber is Hebrew. Okay, now I think these are very, very different languages in all of this. And some would have developed from other languages. I just believe that it's more complicated than just the grandsons of Noah. I think it's more complicated than that. Now, let's talk about English for a second. For us, English is in the Indo-European family, and that goes from India with Hindi all the way to the west in England, where we speak English today. But English is a mix. If you've ever tried to read Old English, and I do mean Old English, forget it. I mean, I'm not talking about Shakespeare. I'm talking predated Shakespeare. It's a very different language than what we have. Languages do change. From generation to generation, words are added, words are changed, words drop away out of communication. but English is definitely a mix, and it shows a people that had been in contact with a lot of other nations, a lot of other languages through time. We are a mix. English language is a mix of Anglo-Saxon. Saxon is German. That's a Germanic language. Latin, Greek, French, Norse, Spanish, and then we borrowed words from all over the world. Here are just a few. Moose. All right, that's a word we borrowed, had to, because where English comes from, England, they don't have moose. All right. Now, geese, yes. What I just said it. What's the plural of goose? Geese. What's the plural of moose? Why isn't it meese? It's not. It's moose. That's because it's a different language. That's Algonquin. Moose is moose is moose is moose. You have one or you have 1,000, it's moose. Okay? Same thing concerning kangaroo. All right, that's an animal not found in most places of the world. Just like with the moose, not found in most places of the world. You have to borrow the name. All right, but there are also other words that we have borrowed. I mean, kangaroo is from an Aboriginal language in Australia. Boondocks, you know what that means. That's not an English word. That's actually from the Philippines. That's Tagalog. Tycoon, we know what that word is. That's a Japanese word. Bamboo, know that one? That is, I think, Malay. It's a Malaysian word. Gum, as in what you chew on and what your parents didn't want you chewing on. Gum, that's an Egyptian word. Ketchup, common word, it's Chinese. It's not Mandarin Chinese, but it is coming out of the western part, and it did not mean a tomato-based kind of sweet thing that you put on French fries. It was a type of, you can try this on your French fries when you want. It's a fish sauce, is what it was. All right, and so I'm bringing this out to show that languages developed, and that something like English did not come out of Babel. Something like Hebrew did not come out of Babel. That would have developed through time. We can close it down there, and appreciate everybody being with us today. And we will continue next week, hopefully.